Night falls over a quiet traditional pavilion as soft sounds of exertion and heavy breathing fill the air. The woman stammers for her partner to wait, her voice trembling as she asks why this is happening. She admits with a blush that this is her very first time doing something like this, but the man doesn't pull away. He confesses that he is also a first-timer, trailing off as his own breath hitches while the tension between them reaches a breaking point. The man continues his praise, admiring her hips and the warmth of her body. As the woman looks up at him, her internal monologue takes over, reflecting on how her life used to be a tangled mess before this moment. She questions how she managed to land a man who is this handsome, big, thick, intelligent, and refined. It feels like an absolute legend of a find, especially since she managed to snag him way out here in a southern backwater town. 2 months earlier, the luxury of Seoul provides a sharp contrast at the residence of Chairman Kang Tae-sen of TS Group. The woman tries to reason with her dad, arguing that modern news outlets are mostly third-rate hacks, surviving on clickbait rather than reputable journalism. Her father isn't buying the excuses, asking if that changes the fact that she posted a photo of an olive leaf and called it a chili leaf. She snaps back, wondering how she was supposed to know the difference. She recalls the mocking DM from a user named Red Pepper King, wishing her luck with the chili leaf business, which prompted her to call him a jerk. Despite the drama, she tries to reassure her father that it will all blow over and she will make up for the mistake. Chairman Kang is far from reassured, demanding to know how she plans to fix things. He reminds her that he has given her chance after chance, despite several failed business ventures, solely because she is his daughter. He points out that a single thoughtless post caused the company stock to drop 7%. When she fails to provide a real answer, his temper flares and he asks why she didn't listen when he told her to stop using Instagram. He slams his hand down, noting that even the CEO of Ilmart used social media to revamp their image, yet his daughter still doesn't understand her mistake. He yells that she trashed the image of their rabbit chili paste before it even launched, and scolds her for talking back. She insists it was a misunderstanding caused by the person who sent the photo, but her father silences her. He decides that since things have reached this point, she should just get married. Shocked, she asks how he can even suggest that when she doesn't even have a boyfriend. He scoffs, mentioning Oka Heiken, the only son of the Oka Doenjang dynasty. As she imagines the man, the heir to the #1 soybean paste brand in the country, she recoils in horror. She refuses to marry a playboy after being single for 33 years. Internally, she wonders if he has even looked at his own loveless marriage with her mother, concluding that such a union is nothing but a tragedy. Her father argues that marrying into that family would make TS Group the top condiment company in the country. She accuses him of trying to sacrifice her life for the sake of the business. He calls her a brat and asks if she would rather break her back working in the fields like her brothers. He claims he offered the easiest way out, but she continues to shout. Frustrated, she declares that she will go work in the field instead. Her father pauses, surprised by her sudden resolve. He asks if she is serious about working on site, and when she confirms it, he tells her to go ahead. Panic sets in as she realizes she doesn't even know where she is going. The terrifyingly calm smile on her father's face signals a massive mistake. She nervously asks if he is sending her to the chili paste factory. He laughs, telling her to forget the factory. To her absolute horror, he clarifies that she isn't going to a building. She is going directly to the chili field. Thunder rumbles in the background as the weight of her new reality sinks in. Rain lashes against the windshield of a rugged Jeep as she drives through the dark. She cries out to her father, asking how he could be so cruel as to exile his beautiful daughter to a backwater town. He even threatened to take her credit cards if she refused to go. She calls him cold-blooded just as the car begins to sputter. Panic rises as she realizes something is wrong with the vehicle. The car skids near the edge of a drop-off, and she screams that she is going to fall. The tires screech as the car comes to a jarring halt in the pouring rain. She sits in the driver's seat, dazed and asking what happened. She tries to move the car, but it won't go forward. Frustrated, she wonders if the tire is stuck in a ditch. She steps out into the mud, her heels sinking as she tries to assess the damage. She vents her frustration by screaming at the sky, blaming Red Pepper King for her current misery and promising to make him pay. A rustle in the bushes startles her, making her wonder if a wild animal or a beast is lurking in the dark. Instead, a small ginger tabby kitten emerges. Her fear turns to delight, as she has always wanted to raise a tabby. She asks the kitten where its mother is, and if it is all alone, too. Petting the small creature, she tells it that crying alone in the rain makes them exactly the same. She decides to take the kitten with her, naming it Patricia. Just as she smiles, a massive hooded figure looms over her from behind. She barely has time to process the stranger's presence before letting out a deafening scream that pierces the rainy night. Rain-slicked and terrified, the daughter of Chairman Kang Tyson stares up at the hooded figure looming over her in the dark. He radiates pure cinematic serial killer energy, making her demotion to this backwater feel like a death sentence. She's convinced her life ends on this godforsaken country road, all alone with no one to hear her scream. When the stranger asks if she needs some help, she doesn't offer a thank you. She screams for him to stay back, threatening a police call that probably won't reach a tower out here. She warns him he'll regret touching her, but as she tries to retreat, her heel betrays her, sending her spiraling toward the mud with a sharp eek. Gravity takes hold, but instead of the cold ground, she finds herself caught in a firm, steady grip. Panicked, she demands he let her go immediately, but the stranger ignores the hostility to check if she's actually injured. He asks if she's even capable of walking, his voice surprisingly calm. As the hood shifts, the light reveals a face that is definitely not a movie monster. Staring up at him, she can only manage a confused gasp, realizing the killer is actually a total legend in the looks department. Softening her stance, she admits to herself that a murderer probably wouldn't be this gentle. The man offers to escort her to her vehicle, but she admits the car is currently a permanent resident of a nearby ditch. When he asks for her destination, she provides the address for number 136, Suchang. He offers a lift, triggering a mental debate about stranger danger in such a sketchy world. She tries to decline, claiming she'll just call a tow truck, but he shuts down that hope immediately. Deep in these mountains, professional help is a myth, and the one local guy who does it would take at least an hour and a half to arrive. He leaves her with the ultimate question: can she really survive out here alone for that long? The thought of being abandoned in the dark is a hard pass. She follows him, wondering what kind of rugged countryside vehicle he operates. Maybe a massive truck or a muddy tractor. He tells her to get ready and suggests she sit in the front. Her expectations crumble when the headlights reveal a shimmering pink scooter adorned with cute stickers. It is absolutely iconic and completely ridiculous. Before she can process the aesthetic choice, the man begins stripping off his outer layer, prompting her to scream and ask what on earth he thinks he's doing. Her internal alarm bells are ringing because anyone driving a pink scooter is a certified weirdo in her book. However, he isn't trying to be a pervert. He tosses his jacket her way, explaining the wind is brutal for whoever sits in the front. He commands her to get on, but she insists on the back seat to maintain some dignity. He shuts that down with cold logic. On these rough dirt roads, holding a kitten while sitting on the back is a one-way ticket to bouncing right off the frame. This is officially her lowest point, sandwiched between a stranger's legs on a moped. He tells her to sit closer, which feels physically impossible given the lack of real estate. He warns her that falling off is on her, so she tells him to just drive and get it over with. The road is a nightmare, sending the scooter jolting over every rock. She yelps in pain as the kitten lets out a confused cry, her body slamming into the man with every dip. He dryly reminds her that he did warn her to hold on tight. Clinging to him for dear life, she can't help but notice how massive and rough he feels, a far cry from the refined men in Seoul. She laments that her marriage prospects are officially in the gutter after this intimate, bumpy ride. Finally, the red roof of number 136 appears through the gloom. He drops her off and announces his departure, but she calls out for him to wait, perhaps not ready to let her only lifeline vanish into the night just yet. He disappears as quickly as he arrived, leaving her to mutter about what a strange man he was. She begins her search for the specific red roof, unaware of the chaos she's about to cause. Inside the house, 3 elderly women are tucked into their blankets when a noise rouses them. One wonders what in tarnation is happening outside, while her companion tells her to hush and sleep. They bicker over whether the sound was a water deer or a woman, with the skeptic pointing out there hasn't been a young woman in this village for ages. That theory is debunked when a loud "excuse me" resonates through the paper walls. The women scramble, terrified by the late-night visitor. One insists on checking the door despite the suspicious hour, wondering who in their right mind would show up now. She slides the door open with a creak and nearly has a heart attack, screaming for mercy at the sight of the stranger. Standing there with a wide, slightly manic smile and a kitten in her arms, the city girl asks if she's finally found the residence of Mr. Go Gwynam. Inside, the atmosphere is pure chaos as an elderly woman shrieks for mercy, convinced a ghost is haunting her doorstep. Taejin tries again, raising her voice to ask if she has the right house. The woman finally processes the name, realizing the stranger is looking for her little brother. The commotion draws out a man in a white tank top who demands to know what all the racket is about in the middle of the night. When he hears there is a woman standing outside the gate, his eyes go wide. He steps out into the night air, looking genuinely stunned to find a guest at this hour. Taejin introduces herself, and the man, Go Guinam, immediately recognizes her. He admits he expected her tomorrow since she missed her arrival time, but he quickly ushers her inside. He announces to the bewildered elderly residents that this is Chairman Kang Tae-san's daughter. Taejin explains that her car is currently becoming one with a pothole near the highway underpass. Guinam knows the spot well, complaining that he has been shouting at people to fix that hole for a year with zero results. He tells her not to worry, promising that someone named Ol Zhang will tow it out in the morning. He takes a good look at her disheveled state and bluntly remarks that she looks exactly like a drowned rat. Guinam shifts into high-gear hospitality, ordering the big sis to find bedding for the spare room and telling the second sis to prep a bath. Taejin has one urgent request: a glass of warm milk. Guinam assumes she is the one who is hungry, but she clarifies the milk is for Patricia. She holds up the kitten she rescued near the highway, explaining the poor thing is cold and starving. Guinam is baffled by the request, but tells Sister Yisun to bring a bowl of milk for Patrash. He is clearly confused, mixing up the kitten's name with the dog from a classic novel. He tells Taejin to wash up and get some sleep, noting they can discuss her stay properly tomorrow. He insists she call him Uncle Guinam and points her toward the brown door leading to the bath. The sisters are not exactly thrilled about the new arrangement. They demand to know what is going on. Guinam explains that the chairman called him out of the blue, told him to watch his daughter for 6 months, and then just hung up. Since half the village relies on Tae-san for their livelihood, Guinam could not exactly say no. He tells the sisters to just close their eyes and treat her well for the next half year. One sister grumbles that at her age, she should be meeting a nephew's wife, not acting as a handmaiden to a random guest. Guinam snaps back that she does not even have a nephew and tells her to quit the nonsense and go to sleep. As he walks away, he wonders when he will finally be able to accept his own son. Taejin paces her new room, wondering how on earth she is supposed to survive in a place like this for 6 months. Her life feels like it is spiraling. She notices a medical textbook on human anatomy sitting on a shelf. The name Go Hoon is written on the top. She realizes Hoon must be the son of the old man living here. A doctor in the family is a massive success story for a small town like this. Shaking off the thought, she turns back to her feline companion. She tells Patricia it is time to get cleaned up and heads for the bathroom. In the bathroom, Taejin looks at the plastic wash basin and sighs. She decides that if she is going to be stuck here, she might as well make some memories. She wonders if she should film the moment. Disaster strikes almost immediately. She tries to use her phone to capture the scene, but the device clearly disagrees with the environment. Despite the manufacturer's claims that the phone was waterproof, it fails her. She lets out a frantic scream as her tech dies, realizing the marketing was a total lie. Far from the house, the hooded stranger arrives at a dark watermill. He apologizes for being late, explaining the heavy rain forced him to check the irrigation channels. He cannot get the image of Taejin out of his head. He sighs, thinking about what a strange woman she was. The encounter was a total bolt from the blue. He wonders why seeing her felt so important. His chest feels tight, and his heart is racing in a way that makes him visibly uncomfortable. The stranger catches his reflection and realizes he is long overdue for a haircut. He tries to push the useless thoughts aside. It is well past his bedtime, but he refuses to skip his nightly ritual of writing poetry. He sits at his desk and begins to write a piece titled Downpour. The poem describes being soaked to the bone and utterly defenseless against a cold, unforgiving rain. He writes about his body trembling from the chill, yet feeling like it is on fire. He concludes that everything has been washed away, leaving behind only a burning heart. He finishes the poem and stares at the page in shock. He wonders if he really just wrote that. Usually, his creative output is strictly limited to the subject of chili peppers. In fact, his last 50 poems were all about peppers. He questions why he is suddenly writing about romantic storms. He recalls a definition of poetry as an art form that expresses the most intense personal depths of the soul. He realizes his own depths are currently occupied by thoughts of the newcomer. He stares into the night, wondering just who the hell that woman is. The morning sun hits Suchang with the subtlety of a freight train, accompanied by a rooster's crow that sounds more like a personal attack than a wake-up call. Taejin bolts upright, her eyes wide with a mix of irritation and genuine confusion. She grumbles about the noise, wondering what on earth is making that sound before fumbling for her phone. The screen glows with a terrifying reality. It is exactly 6 a.m. Panic sets in as she realizes she only closed her eyes for a heartbeat, yet the morning has already arrived. For a woman who usually requires the holy trinity of blackout curtains, sleeping pills, and an eye mask just to drift off by 3 a.m., this is a medical miracle. She spiraled into a minor existential crisis, wondering how she managed to sleep through the entire night without waking up once. And seriously, why is that rooster screaming like its life depends on it? Go Gwaenum isn't interested in her sleep schedule or her insomnia-driven disbelief. He slides the door open with a sharp clatter, ignoring her pleas to sleep a little longer. Because it's still early. He delivers a firm command to get up and eat breakfast. Taejin is baffled by the 6 a.m. mealtime, but Gwaenum doubles down, informing her that the entire household is already waiting for her. She scrambles out of bed, offering a frantic yes as she rushes to get ready. Outside, the rooster is standing its ground like a feathered final boss. Taejin glares at the bird through her sunglasses, convinced it's coming toward her with malicious intent. She questions why a farm animal has such a judgmental look in its eyes. Gwaenum has to step in, shooing the pesky bird away and telling it to go dig up some worms. Taejin sighs, realizing that country life is going to be a relentless uphill battle. Stepping into the main room, she finds a surprise waiting at the table. Gwaenum introduces his triplet sisters, Il-sun, Yae-sun, and Samsun. It's a lot of gray perms to process at once. Yi-sun immediately starts nagging about Taejin wearing sunglasses at the breakfast table, but Gwaenum tries to keep the peace, noting that Taesun's daughter is just a sophisticated soul lady. Samsun, who apparently missed the memo about their new guest, is visibly shaken to learn she's sitting with the chairman's daughter. Taejin takes her seat, trying to maintain her dignity while politely mentioning that she usually has a light salad for breakfast. The table goes silent as the sisters process the word salad, or as they call it, sarada. They aren't buying the city girl diet, insisting that a proper meal is the only way to have energy for the day. One of the sisters scoffs at her strange appetite, while Gwaenum slides a bowl of kimchi bean sprout soup toward her. He tells her not to be difficult and asks if this is her first time seeing real food. Internally, Taejin is screaming. This soup was her father's absolute favorite, meaning she was forced to eat it every single day of her life until she moved out. She spent years avoiding it like the plague. Gwaenum, sensing her hesitation, tells her he isn't forcing her. But Taejin knows the stakes. Everything she does in this village will be reported back to her father. To survive this exile, she has to play the part of the grateful guest. She puts on a brave face, thanks them for the meal, and takes a reluctant spoonful. The flavor hits her like a revelation. The richness is so intense that she realizes everything she ate in Seoul was a total lie. Even though she's supposed to be watching her weight, she can't stop herself from devouring the bowl. Gwaenum watches with a satisfied smirk, telling her to eat up. While Taejin is having a culinary awakening, the hooded stranger is having a shirtless, brooding session by the water. He's trying to convince himself that the only reason he's thinking about Taejin is because her abandoned car is weighing on his conscience. He decides he'll feel better once the vehicle is towed. He pulls out his phone and calls a friend named Chang-soo, barking orders for him to bring a truck to the highway bend. He offers the ultimate country bribe, a cold beer, to get the job done. He hops on his pink scooter and zooms off, the engine roaring as he heads toward the site. He arrives at the bend only to see a massive truck already parked there. He's surprised to find Mr. Jang, who greets him warmly. Gawang explains he saw the stuck car while checking the waterways last night, but Mr. Jang reveals that Go Gwaenum already called him to pick it up. The driver is fascinated by the expensive car, wondering why someone with this kind of money would come to see Gwaenum and Suchang. Gawang stands there, silent and muscular, unable to figure out why that fragile-looking woman has invaded his quiet territory. Chang-soo finally rolls up in his own truck, only to realize the job is already done. He's annoyed about the early morning waste of time, but makes sure to confirm that Gawang is still buying that beer. Gawang gives a curt, "Fine," as they prepare to head out. Back at the house, Taejin is leaning back, patting her stomach in a state of pure food-induced bliss. She's shocked at how much she ate, blaming it on the fact that she was kicked out last night without dinner. She tells herself there's no way she would have finished all that food otherwise. The sound of a truck pulling up breaks her reverie. Mr. Jang steps out, asking if she's the owner of the car. Taejin rushes out to meet him, her sunglasses perched on her head. Mr. Jang notes that the ditch was surprisingly deep and the car was really wedged in there. As he turns to leave, Taejin stops him with a question that halts the entire conversation. She asks how much she owes him for the service. Mr. Jang freezes, looking at her with a dark, stunned expression, as if the very idea of being paid is a foreign concept in Suchang. He insists he isn't that kind of person, explaining he only brought the vehicle because Go Gwynum asked him to as a favor. Taemi persists, suggesting she should at least give him something in return for the effort. This triggers a full-blown outburst from Mr. Jang, who shouts to ask what this is supposed to be. He demands to know if he looks like the kind of guy who runs errands for a quick buck. He tells her that's enough, and instructs her to simply tell Gwynum that Mr. Jang delivered the car safely. When Taemi tries to interject with a soft, but he cuts her off with a flourish of his gloved hand. He declares himself to be Jang Du-jeok, a man who moves strictly by loyalty. He warns her not to try shoving a few bills into his hands like he's some common laborer. Driving away in his white truck, he mutters about the questionable honesty of people from Seoul. The engine of the truck rumbles as Mr. Jang pulls away, catching a glimpse of Taemi's stylish figure in his rearview mirror. He wonders why that woman is so tall, noting she is almost the same height as a woman named Yeon-hae. To him, she doesn't look like a farmhand at all. A sudden thought strikes him, making him wonder if she could be Kang Hoon's future bride. He quickly catches himself, dismissing it as wishful thinking because those two have already drifted too far apart. He tells himself that saying she'd be his bride is pure nonsense. Still, looking at her tall and well-built frame, he realizes she looks like she'd be great at farm work. He pauses, reconsidering the waste of such potential. He decides she'd actually be perfect as Kang Hoon's wife. With a renewed sense of purpose, he resolves to give the matchmaking a try. Inside her temporary home, Taemi prepares for her first day of exile, reminding herself that it isn't even a year, just 6 months. She reasons that if she settles in and does her best, the time will fly by. She carefully applies a bold red lipstick, deciding that since it's the first day, Chanel is the only right choice for a woman of her standing. Looking in the mirror, she declares the look perfect. She turns her attention to the kitten, Patricia, and fastens a small pea charm around its neck, telling the cat this gift is for her. Grabbing a bag of snacks, she heads for the door, calling out to Peter the chicken. She tells Peter she is heading out and instructs him to take care of the house along with Patricia. She tosses a few treats to the bird, who clucks happily as her white heels click against the pavement. Stepping out into the bright sunlight, Taemi takes a deep breath and tells herself it's time to get going. She looks at her imposing black SUV and has a momentary crisis of confidence. Shouting at herself to calm down, she tries to rationalize that she can just wash the car later and shouldn't get emotionally attached to a mere vehicle. She reminds herself that a guy named Taeyang managed to handle things, so she can certainly do it too. Pumping herself up, she recalls her status as an executive director of TS Group. She climbs into the driver's seat, gripping the steering wheel with manicured nails. She tells herself to come on and skip the cheesy love story tropes, resolving to overcome this rural challenge professionally with her own skills. The G-Wagon roars to life as Taemi drives down the narrow dirt roads. At first, she enjoys the experience, noting the smell of fresh air with zero pollution and the scent of damp soil. That appreciation vanishes instantly when a different odor hits her. She lets out a disgusted realizing the air is thick with the smell of cow dung. She sighs, figuring she will need plenty of time to get used to that particular rural perfume. As she passes a grazing cow that lets out a loud moo, she realizes she must have eaten something salty, because her throat is bone dry. She doubts there is a proper supermarket in a place like this, but then she spots a building. She wonders if there is a small shop at least, surprised that this tiny town really has everything. She pulls over at a place called Suni's General Store, noting the name with a hint of skepticism. Taemi pushes open the door of the quiet shop, calling out a hello to see if anyone is there. She wanders past shelves of snacks, asking again if the shop owner is around. She finds Sister Yusun lying on a mat in the back, and the elderly woman sits up with a start, exclaiming, "Oh my." Sister Yusun asks the sweetie if she is there to buy something. Taemi confirms she wants sparkling water, specifically something like a cola. Sister Yusun looks confused, repeating the word cola back to her. Taemi clarifies she wants something like cola, but Sister Yusun offers cider instead. Taemi tries to explain she wants something like Perrier or Sugram, or even a domestic lemon-flavored D brand. Sister Yusun just blinks, wondering what an O brand is supposed to be. Sister Yusun eventually points toward the back, telling Taemi that Orang C is on the top shelf. Taemi reaches for the bottle, complaining about how dusty it is before bringing it to the counter to pay. Sister Yusun looks at the black credit card Taemi holds out and asks what that thing is. Taemi realizes the shop doesn't take cards and admits she doesn't have any cash on her. Sister Yusun looks at her with a mix of pity and suspicion, asking if she simply doesn't have any money. Taemi tries to explain that she has plenty of money on the card, but since it's useless here, she is stuck. Sister Yusun sighs and pulls out a ledger, telling her they will have to use the credit book. Taemi opens the ledger, seeing the instruction to write her name if she wants credit. She carefully pens her name and the purchase of 1 bottle of Irresistible. When she asks how much she should write down, Sister Yisun tells her it's 51. Taemi asks for a pardon, completely shocked by the price. She wonders if the store got the soda at a clearance sale, unable to fathom how a bottle could only be 51. Sister Yusun asks if she will be able to pay it back by Chuseok. Taemi thinks to herself that Chuseok is still very far away, but Sister Yusun insists she mustn't miss it because she promised someone named Dongwoo. Taemi wonders who Dongwoo is, but decides to just agree. As Taemi prepares to leave, Sister Yusun suddenly calls her Yeonhee. Taemi pauses, realizing there is no one else in the store, and wondering if the old woman has mistaken her for someone else. She politely says yes ma'am anyway. Sister Yusun offers some parting advice, telling her that even if she doesn't make money right away, she shouldn't give up, because she can do it. Taemi gives a confused yes. Sister Yusun adds that if she can't pay the credit by autumn, winter is fine too. Taemi is still hung up on the fact that the debt isn't 50 million, but just 51. She thanks the woman and heads for the door. Just as she steps outside, she spots a familiar sight and realizes it's that man from before. The hooded stranger rumbles past on his pink scooter, his dark beard and baseball cap visible under his hood. Taemi calls out a hello, but the scooter speeds away with a loud roar. She stands there stunned, asking herself what that was all about. She watches him disappear into the distance, feeling a surge of annoyance. She wonders aloud if he just ignored her on purpose. She wonders if the man is actually ghosting her in person. A heavy sigh escapes her as she decides not to overthink the situation. After all, he was busy driving and probably didn't intend to be rude. She pops the cap off a bottle with a satisfying click and takes a long, cold drink. The liquid hits her throat with a refreshing sting, making her feel like she can finally breathe again. After the last drop disappears, she stares at the empty glass, debating if a second bottle is the only way to survive the afternoon. A sign nearby promises to see everyone in the pepperfield soon. Walking through the supposed downtown of Suchang, a wave of disappointment hits Taemi. Grandma Samson promised a bustling center, but this looks more like a forgotten film set than a shopping district. She berates herself for having high expectations in a place like this. Her new mission is to find an ATM and beat a hasty retreat. Suddenly, the sight of a familiar pink scooter parked by a brick wall stops her in her tracks. It's him. The man from the rainy night steps out of a building, looking remarkably less hooded, but just as mysterious. She doesn't hesitate, shouting out to get his attention. Taemi waves a hand and offers a bright hello, but the man seems to be operating on a completely different frequency. His silence is legendary, making her wonder if he's intentionally being rude or just lacks a social battery. She asks if he even recognizes her, reminding him that he was her scooter-driving savior just last night. She mentioned seeing him earlier at the shop, too. She pours out her gratitude, admitting she might have spent the night rotting in the mountains if he hadn't intervened. Being a Seoul girl, the countryside is a horror movie to her, full of nothing but endless fields and intimidating peaks. When the silence continues to stretch, it occurs to her that they haven't swapped names. She finally introduces herself as Kang Taemi, hoping for a shred of a reaction. Taemi leans forward, asking for his name, but then remembers she has a debt to settle. She tells him to wait right there because she has something to give him. Meanwhile, the man is having an internal meltdown. His heart thumps against his chest with a rhythmic thud as he grips the scooter's handlebars. He tries to explain away the first meeting as a fluke, but a second encounter in one day feels like destiny is playing a prank on him. Stunned by the coincidence, he realizes he absolutely cannot face her right now. The scooter engine roars to life with a sudden vroom as the man peels away, leaving Taemi standing in a cloud of dust. She stares after him, clutching a white envelope and wondering what his actual problem is. She questions if he genuinely finds her company that repulsive. Despite the abrupt exit, the need to pay him back for the favor remains. Since Suchang is a tiny village where everyone knows everyone's business, confidence grows that they'll run into each other again soon. A banner nearby welcomes visitors to the home of the Red Pepper Prince, boasting about peppers so good you can't stop eating. Later, Go Gwynam checks in to see if she enjoyed her tour of the local scenery. Taemi confirms she had a good look around. Gwynam mentions that tomorrow is the big day for transplanting seedlings and asks if she wants to tag along. When he points out that she's probably never seen a hybrid pepper plant in the wild, a fire ignites in Taemi's eyes. She remembers the online bullying she endured from Red Pepper King and her former followers. Determined to make a legendary comeback as the executive director of HS Foods' gochujang division, she enthusiastically agrees to be there. Gwenam tells her to get some sleep since they're heading out at the crack of dawn, and she chirps a quick agreement. Inside a warm, traditional room, the village elders are busy venting. They complain about being buried in farm work and now having to deal with the extra burden of a city girl. Sister Yusin hushes them, worried that Taemi might overhear their grumbling. Grandma Samson tries to inject some positivity, but the others mock her, asking how much life an 80-year-old really has left to be optimistic about. Go Gwynam finally steps in, telling them to pay attention. He reminds them that Taemi isn't just a random visitor. She's Chairman Kang Taeson's daughter. Their entire financial future and the purchase price of their peppers are tied directly to her. If they play their cards right and take care of her, the old man might actually pay them a fair price, despite his reputation as a miser. Gwynam urges the women to think of the other elders in the village and treat Taemi with intense care. He stresses the importance of keeping her identity a secret from the rest of the town. The women nod, though one can't help but mention Gwynam's son, which immediately sends his blood pressure through the roof. He gets visibly worked up, forcing the others to tell him to just let it be. Still, as they watch him walk away, they can't help but feel it's a total waste that Taemi and their nephew aren't a match. Taemi relaxes in her room, petting the kitten, Patricia, while her phone buzzes with a call from Secretary Yu. The secretary apologizes for the time it took to scrub her recent social media disaster, but tells her to check a new link. Taemi's jaw drops as she sees a headline praising her diligence and her supposed devotion to gochujang starting in the pepper fields. She stares at the screen, wondering how her exile turned into a PR masterpiece overnight. She questions what this even is, since she never sat for such an interview. Secretary Yu explains over the line that the PR team worked overtime on the piece. The secretary asks if Taemi has any photos saved, suggesting a strong campaign to post her natural life in Suchang on Instagram. It is a play for public sincerity. Taemi is shocked to learn she is even allowed back on social media. Yu clarifies that official company releases feel too staged, so the consensus is for her to do it herself. Even the chairman gave his approval, which leaves Taemi floored. She admits to having some random snaps, though they were just for memories rather than the gram. Deciding to take the bait, Taemi agrees to handle the account. Secretary Yu asks if there is anything else causing her inconvenience. Taemi decides to wait and see how things go. Yu promises to assist as much as possible from Seoul, since the chairman strictly ordered no direct help in Suchang. A sudden thought strikes Taemi. She shouts into the phone demanding that Yu buy top-quality cat food, cat litter, and chicken feed to send down immediately. The secretary sounds a bit stunned by the request for farm supplies. The next morning, Taemi watches the locals with a mix of awe and exhaustion. She wonders who in their right mind starts their day at 6 a.m. Everyone looks incredibly lively, making her wish her father could smile like that. He changed as the company grew, trading his warmth for wealth and a string of other women. Her mother passed away after providing the very funds for his business, a fate Taemi refuses to repeat. Arranged marriages are a hard pass because she intends to keep her head straight. If she makes another mistake here, there won't be a next time. Go Gwynam gathers the workers, introducing the young lady who will be living with them until summer as Kang Taemi. The workers are impressed, calling her a beautiful young lady, but noting she looks a bit too fancy for a pepper field. Gwynam assures them she is just here to learn how chili farming is done and asks them to treat her well. He leaves Taemi in the care of Wonju Daek while he checks the rice nursery. They head into the field where Wonju Daek presents a chili seedling. Taemi, ever the city girl, asks what kind of machine they use to plant them. The question triggers a wave of laughter from the seasoned farmer. Wonju Daek flexes, explaining that they use their own 2 arms for the job. The workday begins with a chorus of heave-hoes. The farmers sing about not coveting wealth or envying grand palaces. Taemi finds the scene iconic and thinks it is a total waste to listen to it alone. She pulls out her phone to record for Instagram, wondering if this amazing scene will go viral. The sound of a motorcycle engine cuts through the singing. Her eyes widen as she recognizes the man on the pink scooter. It is that man again. Goang pulls up, wondering why that woman is still here. Gwynnm greets him, and Goang confirms he brought the requested items. He tries his best to avoid eye contact, but Taemi isn't letting him off the hook. She tells him he could at least say hello, pointing out this is their fourth encounter. Wonju Dayak is surprised to learn they know each other. Taemi explains the scooter ride from her first day and how he always flees before she can get a name. Wonju Dayak defends him, claiming Goang is polite to a fault. Taemi finally realizes his name is Goang. Taemi grabs Goang's sleeve, telling him to wait and not run away today. She pulls out an envelope and tells him to take it. She wants to repay him for the help on the highway. Goang tries to brush it off, saying it is fine, but she insists. She tells him it is 1,000,000 won, which should be enough to cover the gas for the ride. Goang flatly refuses the money. Taemi pushes back, telling him not to be like that and just take it. She explains that she feels uncomfortable without compensating him for his help. The tension snaps as Goang shouts that he doesn't want it. The outburst startles the nearby workers who wonder why the young folks are fighting. Taemi tries to keep it light, laughing off the tension while asking why he is getting so angry. She claims she was just trying to show appreciation with good intentions. Goang's face darkens as he asks if he looks like the kind of person who wants her damn 1,000,000 won. Goang rants that when soul women receive help, they just shove money in people's faces instead of giving a sincere thank you. He roars off on his scooter, leaving Taemi standing there baffled. She asks what on earth is wrong with him. Wonju Daik tells her to try and understand because Goang is just shy. Apparently, he is built like a bear but has been quiet as a mouse since he was a tyke. The workers gossip that with an attitude like that, he might never get married. They joke that pigs will fly before Goang ever goes on a date. A realization hits Wonju Dayak. She asks how Goang gave her a ride on such a tiny scooter if there was no space. Taemi casually mentions she sat in the front. The workers' jaws drop. The image of them huddled together on the front of the scooter is a total shock. They are absolutely scandalized that she wasn't on the back, but right in the front. And that is all for today. If you liked the work and want the continuation, let me know in the comments by writing Pepper Love. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to follow the new parts.